Hannya Mask is a relic of Japanese Noh theater, a performance art characterized by its blend of drama and dance. The Hannya Mask's twisted facial structure is meant to evoke fear from those who gaze upon it, but upon closer inspection, it masks a tormented soul rife with melancholy and sorrow. Ghostwire Tokyo channels the Hannya Mask's origins and folklore and brings it to the sprawling metropolitan streets of modern Tokyo. And in celebration of the supernatural action-adventure game release, IGN is collaborating with PlayStation to bring a few lucky viewers the chance to win a custom Hannya Mask inspired by the game. But before we can give it away, we have to make it. This is IGN's ultimate collectible. Presented by Ghostwire Tokyo. Play it on PS5. Before I started filming, I went outside and spray painted my mask with a coat of flat black primer, then a layer of flat gray, and then a dusting of flat white, which makes the sculpting and details pop a whole lot more than if it was all one color. I printed out a bunch of screenshots from the Ghostwire Tokyo trailer for quick reference. One of the central themes in the game is the juxtaposition of supernatural creatures from Japanese folklore against the modern urban setting of Tokyo, which I can hopefully capture by customizing this Hannya Mask to look like the bustling urban landmark of the Shibuya crossing. First, I'm sketching out a rough outline, a roadmap if you will, of where I want the streets and sidewalks to go, and where I'll put the crosswalks, or zebra crossings if you're in the UK where things have better names. Next, I'm putting down some dark gray acrylic paint for the streets. A common mistake is to make asphalt pure black when it's really only that dark after being freshly paved. Next, I'm hitting it with a sponge brush to make some lighter grays and give it some more texture. Then it's time for the concrete. You can get a perfectly good shade of gray by mixing black and white paint, but you can get some really nice variation in depth by throwing in some other colors too. How I'm mixing the paint here is a terrible idea if I was trying to get one even and consistent color, but concrete sidewalks are rarely one perfectly even shade. I'm actually deliberately making the different bits of gray a little messy because Tokyo is extremely clean and well taken care of, but when you've got 3,000 people crossing the street at a time, it's gonna show some wear. Painting something that's already gray, two different shades of gray isn't very exciting, so let's put some color in here. I figure a giant demon's mouth in the middle of the street is kind of a safety hazard, so let's make these big teeth into orange traffic cones. Then I'm painting the eyes yellow, as well as the smaller teeth. Sticking with the safety and roadwork theme, I'm gonna make those look like some yellow barricades. Hey, you know what's the opposite of the joy of painting? The monotony of masking. But unfortunately, it's a necessary step for this project. I'm making a ton of little tiny strips of tape to block off the crosswalks. These aren't going to be exact or even the same size or shape necessarily, but look, we're not creating a replica of Shibuya, we're creating a demon mask with a Shibuya motif. I'm also masking off the cones so I can add those little white reflective strips, and no, the irony of masking a mask is not lost on me. I'm hitting all those masked areas with my airbrush, which is a little nerve-wracking after all that time I spent putting down the tape strips. If I miss a spot, it's going to be a pain in the neck to go back and remask it, so I'm taking my time to make sure I do a thorough job without putting down so much paint that it gets runny. But all my hard work paid off and my crosswalks look great. There's a teeny bit of overspray in the forehead wrinkle, but I can live with it. Honestly, I probably could have painted the horns to look like traffic cones and called it a day, but where's the fun in that? Besides, Shibuya Crossing isn't the same without some towering buildings covered in signs and giant screens. I got this adorable little miniature office building that's meant for railroad modeling, and as much as it pains me, I'm just carving it up for parts. These and the white plastic are both styrene, which is the same kind of plastic most model kits are made out of, and when it's in this form, it can be easily cut in fairly straight lines by scoring it with an X-Acto and then just snapping pieces off, and it glues together really well with hobby cement. I don't actually have a blueprint here, I'm just kind of making up as I go along, trying to make these buildings look visually dense without being overly busy. Again, this is not going to be 100% accurate to the buildings in Shibuya, but it'll get the point across, and just like the mask doesn't have a back to it, neither will these buildings. They are just facades, like we're shooting an old Western movie. I'm taking the same somewhat messy approach I took for the sidewalk, and then to tone down the contrast between colors, I'm just hitting them with a dusting of white and gray paint from my airbrush. I've also been periodically spraying everything with a layer of floor polish, which acts as a clear coat, and it sounds crazy, but this stuff is great because it's cheap and it's durable and it dries quickly, and most importantly, it protects the paint I've already laid down from getting scratched while I'm working. After all, it's meant to protect floors from people scratching them with their shoes, so makes sense. To attach the buildings to the mask, I'll need to lay some foundation, so to speak, which requires some controlled demolition of my carefully painted sidewalk. Did I say the airbrushing was nerve-wracking? If I'm being totally honest, I have no idea how I'm actually going to attach the little buildings to the mask, but I'll figure it out. To avoid ruffling any legal feathers and keeping everything authentically in-universe, I went through all of the Ghostwire Tokyo trailers and gameplay that I could find and took screen caps of all of the signs and logos and stuff in the background that seemed appropriate to put on the side of a building. Then I resized these in Photoshop. In Ghostwire Tokyo, you'll encounter corrupted areas where reality isn't behaving normally, like even less normally than the rest of the city, so I grabbed some images from those. One is this monochromatic eyeball thing, and the other is a bunch of flyers on a wall that are misbehaving. I printed all these designs out 2 ways, on vinyl sticker paper and also on water slide decals. The print quality on the decals is way better than on the stickers, so I'll be picking and choosing which designs go where. For most of the signs, I started cutting pieces of styrene to the appropriate size and then applying the vinyl paper here and there. I was able to color in the white edges with permanent markers of various colors, which kind of felt like cheating, but you know, whatever gets the job done. Water slides are the same kind of decals you get with most model kits. They come on little tiny pieces of paper, you get the pieces of paper wet, and the decals slide right off onto the thing you're decorating. Sort of like temporary tattoos. There's a right way and a wrong way to apply decals, and I'm mostly doing it the wrong, stupid way. I'm just kind of throwing decals in a cup and letting them soak and then pulling them out and hoping they go on evenly, but you know what? I'm getting the job done. Now, in addition to the spooky corrupted areas behind Mr. Demon's ears, I'm also putting various warning labels on his teeth and a couple of nice angry do not enter signs on his pupils, which are just little circles of plastic that I cut and sanded down. To make the windows, I found a bunch of stock photos of buildings online and then blurred them and printed them out and then glued them to pieces of clear plastic from a takeout sushi container, and then I super glued those inside the buildings, and voila! The lights are on and somebody's home. Now, like I said, I wasn't sure how I was going to attach the buildings to the mask. I was afraid that hot glue would melt the plastic, but I tested it on some scrap plastic and it worked fine, so time to put up some skyscrapers, and also a little convenience store. I meant for this to be a Fujiya Mart, but the signs didn't come out great, so now it is a daily ninja instead. I should really be better about getting ninjas daily. I only have them like once or twice a week. That's not healthy. You should have a ninja every day. Now for the signs. I'm using hot glue for the larger ones and super glue gel for the little ones, and some of the larger water slide decals didn't really play nice with the styrene, so I just put packing tape on top of that. I was worried it would look too glossy, but I think it looks okay. Now again, for the 15th time, this isn't an accurate representation of Shibuya. I don't know if the giant demon head gave it away, but also, I can't read Japanese, so if any of these signs seem totally out of place or inappropriate to be on the side of a building, that's probably why. Something that's cool about Shibuya is that even though it's this massive intersection between a huge train station and a busy shopping district in a densely trafficked urban area, there are still trees. So I'm gonna use some ripped up green foam rubber to make a little foliage, which also happens to be our demon friend's nose and ear hair. Now, finally, what makes this crossing noteworthy isn't the intersection itself, or the buildings, or the signs, it's the number of people who pass through it every day, and this wouldn't be complete without some pedestrians. So I'm putting down some teeny tiny people that are in the same scale as that building I demolished. To make it seem like a proper crowd, I laid a bunch of these guys down sideways and glued them together that way, which also makes it easier to attach to the mask, and then I went through and added a few stragglers in between to make it look like a properly packed street, and just like that, we're done. Here's my Shibuya Crossing inspired Hannya Mask. I hope you like it. You want a chance to win it? Well, then check out the link in the description along with rules for a chance to win. Only one lucky viewer will get a chance to win this mask, but fortunately, IGN is teaming up with manga artist Misako Rocks to craft 3 more custom masks in her own distinct style. Find out the significance of the Hannya Mask yourself when Ghostwire Tokyo releases for PlayStation 5 on March 25th. And for more on Ghostwire Tokyo, stay tuned to IGN.